Everyone thinks Superman vs. Omni-Man would be an insane battle, but it's not even close. And I'll be breaking down every brutal reason why, starting with where they come from, because origins shape everything. Superman was born as Kal-El on the distant planet Krypton to scientists Jor-El and Lara. As Krypton faced imminent destruction due to a natural planetary catastrophe, its core becoming unstable, Jor-El built a small spacecraft to save his infant son. Moments before Krypton exploded, Kal-El was placed in the craft and sent to He crash-landed near Smallville, Kansas, where he was found and adopted by a kind farming couple, Jonathan and Martha Kent. They named him Clark Kent and raised him as their own. As Clark grew up, he developed extraordinary powers due to Earth's yellow sun and weaker gravity, including super strength, flight, heat vision, X-ray vision, super speed, and invulnerability. His parents instilled in him strong moral values, teaching him to use his powers for good. Upon reaching adulthood, Clark moved to Metropolis, where he became a journalist for the Daily Planet and adopted the superhero identity Superman, a symbol of hope and justice. He's not just a product of alien biology, he's the ultimate embodiment of nurture over nature. His connection to humanity is what defines him. He chooses to protect, to guide, to lead by example. Omni-Man is a Viltrumite, a member of a powerful alien race from the planet Viltrum. The Viltrumites are a superhuman species characterized by their immense strength, speed, flight, near invulnerability, and long lifespans. Their society is built around a brutal ideology of conquest and survival of the fittest. Initially, the Viltrumite Empire sought to expand its reach by violently conquering other planets. To streamline this, they later began sending lone Viltrumites to infiltrate and weaken worlds from within in preparation for eventual conquest. Nolan was sent to Earth under the false pretense of being a benevolent protector.
We don't know who this is, or if they're friendly or not.
You don't look like you're from around here.
My government sent me here to help protect.
On Earth, he assumed the identity Omni-Man and became a superhero, even marrying a human woman, Debbie Grayson, and fathering a son, Mark Grayson, who would later become Invincible. While he genuinely developed some attachment to Earth and his family, his true mission was always to prepare Earth for Viltrumite rule. This hidden agenda leads to a dramatic and violent revelation, particularly when Mark comes of age and develops power of his own. That ideological contrast is the core difference. Superman is the protector of Earth in every aspect. He is meant to embody ideals of hope, peace, and justice, while Omni-Man represents conquest and the expansion of an empire, hiding his dark secret until the right moment. But this isn't their only big difference. Superman is so far beyond strength that it's sometimes hard to measure without context. For instance, a more abstract feat would be when he enters the metaphysical realm to confront destiny itself. The Book of Destiny is said to contain every possible outcome in the universe. Its pages are described as infinite, and each page has infinite weight. Superman, through sheer will and strength, manages to turn a page. A more definite and recognizable feat of strength would be when he physically moved Earth out of the path of a rogue planet, something that would require literally quintillions of tons of force. These aren't just flukes of freakish strength either. No Superman is able to keep those feats going consistently, like when he endured the intense gravitational stress test near the sun, lifting Earth mass simulators for 5 days straight. Most impressively is the time he contained a black hole with his bare hands, showing that his strength isn't just limited to lifting heavy things. Omni-Man's feats of strength are far more quantifiable, contained within a level of realism. He took on the Guardians of the Globe, brutally killing what equates to a discount Justice League all on his own. While fighting with Mark, he smashes him through a skyscraper, a mountain, and across a multi-mile distance. The destruction caused by their fight levels entire blocks of a city, killing thousands within seconds. Also, he has killed other Viltrumites, all superhuman level threats, battling several on Throxa and 2 more on the prison ship. His greatest singular feat of strength comes from the comics. During the Viltrumite War arc, Omni-Man, Mark, and Thetis follow a bolt fired from Space Racer through the planet Viltrum, destroying it in spectacular fashion. While not a feat that is solely his own, it is incredibly impressive that he is able to destroy a planet completely, but their strength would be nothing without their speed. In battle, Superman is able to analyze situations, make decisions, and respond in the span of microseconds or less. Starting low on the list of feats, he once caught a bullet after it had been fired, saving the person it was flying towards. Ramping up quickly, he reacted to dozens of high-speed satellite weapons falling towards Earth, disabling them almost simultaneously across continents, covering continents in seconds. He can move through space at at frankly ridiculous speeds too, going from Earth to the Vega system 25 light years away in what happens to be minutes, reacting to a distress signal. But in other instances, he's crossed the whole universe in seconds to respond to a cosmic threat. He has also raced the Flash himself on more than a few occasions, sometimes as a friendly competition, sometimes under duress. Sometimes they tie, other times Flash wins by a narrow margin. Keeping up with the fastest man alive is no laughing matter. Omni-Man's feats are once again on a much smaller scale, still very impressive though. He is able to catch Red Rush's fist, Red Rush being a speedster capable of punching hundreds of times per second. Despite this, Omni-Man catches him, immobilizes him, and crushes his skull. While fighting Mark, he notices fighter jets entering the area. He disappears from view and reaches them in an instant, destroying one mid-air, suggesting hypersonic movement. His greatest feat of speed would be when he invades the Flaxen dimension and slaughters their entire army, destroying cities and killing their leadership within seconds. He is seen as nothing but a blur followed by wakes of destruction and death. Omni-Man can travel at hypersonic speeds. He's fast enough to fly through continents in minutes and kill thousands in a blink. But he's not faster than light, not even close. In terms of reaction speed, Superman is in a league of his own. If you think their speeds are impressive, just wait until you hear how durable they are. Superman's durability is unquestionable, but let's try to start on the lesser end. Superman is able to trade blows with Doomsday, a genetically engineered killing machine. Each punch creates shockwaves across cities, and the entire eastern seaboard shakes during their fight. He took a full blast from Darkseid's Omega beams, which typically erase people from existence or trap them in alternate timelines. Superman resists it depending on the version, even outfighting it with willpower. If that's not enough, he dived into the core of the sun on a rescue mission, absorbing a solar overload that temporarily mutates him. The sun's core burns at 15 million degrees Celsius, and its gravitational pressure would crush any known material, but Superman takes it. Omni-Man's feats are once again on a much more definable scale. He survived a train collision without slowing down, dragging Mark through a speeding passenger train, letting it slam into him repeatedly as bodies explode around them. Hundreds of tons of steel moving at high speed shred on impact, and Omni-Man doesn't even flinch, not even a scratch on him. He casually resists bullets, missiles, and even a giant satellite skybeam. But most impressively is when he survived flying through planet Viltrum's core, withstanding immense heat and gravitational pressure. Impressive? Definitely. But Superman's feats are on a different scale, a cosmic scale. Omni-Man is terrifying by human standards, Superman is terrifying by divine ones. In power scaling, Superman exists in a tier above. His greatest enemies are Time Eaters, Dimension Shatterers, and Gods of Chaos. Omni-Man fights soldiers, rebels, and generals. The gap between them grows by the second. Okay, I know what you're thinking right now, but Omni-Man still has potential. One thing is more important than you realize, and it's the mind. Superman is often underestimated here, but he's not just a powerhouse. He's a trained journalist, an investigator, a scientist, and in many stories, a tactical genius. He's battled for centuries in alternate timelines, trained with Batman, Wonder Woman, and Jor-El. He solves dimensional puzzles, speaks every known language on Earth and beyond, and adapts to new threats with lightning speed. He's fought alongside the Justice League, the Legion of Superheroes, and even the New Gods. He understands how to lead, how to coordinate, and how to manipulate battlefields. Omni-Man is a warrior, trained in combat for centuries. He knows how to fight. He's experienced in Viltrumite battle tactics, but strategy isn't his strength. Overwhelming forces. His problem solving often boils down to punching harder or intimidating enemies. So who wins in a chess match? Superman. Every time. A common argument. Omni-Man doesn't hold back, Superman does. True, but let's be clear. Superman doesn't hold back because he has to. He holds back because he chooses to. He sees value in every life. He doesn't want to destroy when he can protect, but when he needs to unleash, just ask Doomsday, ask the Anti-Monitor, ask Zod. We've seen Superman cut loose, and it is terrifying. He could burn Omni-Man out of existence before Nolan blinks. And when Superman chooses to fight with his full potential, the battlefield itself becomes irrelevant. Mountains shatter, oceans evaporate, time slows. Omni-Man's willingness to kill doesn't give him an edge. It just reveals his lack of control. Superman doesn't need to kill to win. He wins because he fights with purpose, precision, and a higher moral code. He wins because his values elevate him beyond brute force. Let's talk about storytelling. Superman represents hope. He is restrained, moral, and ultimate power guided by compassion. Omni-Man represents authoritarianism. He's what happens when power has no limits and no empathy. Their stories aren't just about strength. They're metaphors. Superman chooses to be human despite being a god. Omni-Man pretends to be human while seeing us as ants. Superman uplifts humanity, Omni-Man enslaves it. In any narrative, Superman wins because he is the ideal. Omni-Man loses because he is the cautionary tale. Their arcs aren't aligned. Their values aren't compatible. This isn't a rivalry, it's a moral mismatch. Superman is the answer to the question, what if God were good? Omni-Man is the warning, what if he wasn't? Let's say they do fight. Full power, neutral setting, no help, no kryptonite, just fists and fury. Omni-Man attacks first, Superman takes the hit, maybe even stumbles. Then he counters with a punch that folds mountains. Omni-Man is fast, but Superman is faster. Nolan goes for a grapple. Superman breaks it, flies into orbit, and slams Omni-Man through an asteroid field. Even if Nolan draws blood, it doesn't matter. Superman heals in seconds. And if Superman gets serious, it's over in less than a minute. Maybe Nolan tries to retreat. Superman follows. Maybe he tries to reason. Superman doesn't flinch. When he knows the world is at risk, when innocent lives hang in the balance, Kal-El acts with defined swiftness. No cosmic tools, no Batman with a plan, just Superman. So why the debate? Why do people even ask this question? Because Invincible was brilliant. Omni-Man is terrifying, complex, and incredibly written. He shocked us. He broke the mold. And with J.K. Simmons voicing him, perfection. But hype isn't strength. A great character doesn't equal a great matchup. Superman has 80 years of scaling. He's fought beings who can rewrite reality. Omni-Man, he's a king in a sandbox. Superman's battles span the multiverse. We love Omni-Man, but loving a character doesn't mean pretending he can be Superman. It means appreciating his story for what it is, a powerful warning, not a power fantasy. All this leaves us with a question. Who would walk away from a fight? Well, I think no matter what version, what universe, or what fight, Superman would walk away every time. If you enjoyed this video and want to find out everyone that could kill Omni-Man, click the video on the screen. Everyone knows Superman is incredibly strong. In fact, he's often considered as one of the strongest heroes to ever exist. But what happens when we put him in the world of Invincible? From Omni-Man's sheer strength to Adam Eve's godlike capabilities, can the characters from Invincible emerge victorious in a battle with the Man of Steel? Let's find out. Originally named Kal-El, Superman was born to Jor-El and Lara on a planet Krypton. It was a world of science, logic, and intellect. Under the Red Sun, Kryptonians were like humans, devoid of special abilities. Their technology was thousands of years ahead of Earth, with them using cloning and holographic memory crystals. Their society valued logic over emotion, but as advanced and as logical as they were, the Kryptonians did not listen to the warnings of impending doom. Their arrogance led to their downfall. Being the only Kryptonians who took this seriously, Jor-El and Lara built a spacecraft to carry their child away from their planets. And in Krypton's final moments, they bid goodbye to their treasured child as he left for Earth. Landing in rural Kansas, United States, the to-be Superman is found by two farmers, Jonathan and Martha. They're honest and hardworking people who name him Clark Kent and love him as their own. He grows up living a humble life with caring parents who instilled values of bravery, justice, and honesty in him. Eventually, he begins to change as his Kryptonian biology starts to show. Under the yellow sun, something divine awakened in him and he got to experience what his people did not. He gets superhuman strength, enough to lift buildings and mountains. But it doesn't stop there. He becomes fast enough to zoom past trains and aircrafts. Bullets become pebbles against him. He could soar through the skies and hear a whisper from miles away. Training these newfound powers, Superman not only grows in strength, but also in wisdom. With the values instilled in him by his adoptive parents, he learns to use his powers responsibly. His mission becomes simple: protect the ones who cannot protect themselves. By following this code, he became a symbol of hope and justice during dark times. But to the public, Clark Kent is a journalist. In his job, he goes on the front lines of natural disasters, scandals, and attacks, all times where Superman is needed. This keeps him updated on current affairs, and he wasn't just standing around. Over time, as Superman battles mighty foes, his powers reach new heights. He's able to lift the Earth's entire mass near the sun for more than 5 days. He can run so quickly that if he circles a spot, he's able to create a time portal and travel through it. His powers are so immeasurable that it's comical, but that's that's the point. He didn't get his name out of thin air. He has constantly proven over and over again by completely embodying it. But what actually makes Superman such a great hero are not for his powers, but his morality. He's genuinely kind. He feels for the people he protects. He hurts for the people he has no connection to. He's a superior being in strength, speed, durability, and power. He could have the world under his feet and have humans as his loyal servants, but he doesn't, because that's not him. He's not a ruler, he's not a conqueror, he's a protector, and he's compelled to be a fighter to protect the ones he loves. This is the reason Superman is the ultimate hero. Now, let's put him in the Invincible universe, a place known for its brutality. First in line is our protagonist, Invincible. Also known as Mark Grayson, he is born to Nolan Grayson, a Viltrumite, and Debbie Grayson, a human. Though he eagerly waits to be just like his father, Omni-Man, he shows no signs of developing powers of his own. When he turns 17, though, his Viltrumite DNA finally awakens.
It's about time.
Had a pretty interesting day.
Sorry I'm late.
Mark was getting ready to tell us how interesting his day was.
Guess who's finally getting his powers?
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
Oh, that's great, son. Just great.
Under his father's training with his newfound strength, Invincible's able to lift boulders as if they were pebbles. He's able to soar through the sky at an unbelievable speed, and perhaps the most important ability he gains is his near invulnerability, giving him his iconic name, Though this training is useful, there's an undertone to it. Omni-Man isn't simply teaching his son to be a strong superhero. He's teaching him to be a fighter, a winner, a ruthless Viltrumite, and above all, a ruler. But Omni-Man severely underestimated him, because even though Invincible has survived deathly fights, his Viltrumite DNA and his powers are not what define him. His best qualities are within: his strong will and unshakable morals. He knows that life is precious and that as someone strong, he cannot just destroy it. He believes that every species, whether Thraxan, Atlantean, or human, deserves to live and exist in their own way. Though they may be weaker and have flaws in their civilizations, Invincible believes worlds cannot be forced to submit. In this sense, he's unwilling to bend his morals even when he's at death's door. So when he finds out that Omni-Man is actually there to capture Earth for Viltrumite rule, Invincible defends it relentlessly. His own father tells him it's okay to pity those weaker than him, but wrong to value them. According to Omni-Man, Invincible's resistance is meaningless because he'll outlive all the people he's fighting for, and it won't matter in 50 or 100 years. But it does matter. It matters to Invincible.
What will you have after 500 years?
You, Dad. I still have you.
However insignificant or short-lived Omni-Man thinks human life is, Invincible strongly believes it has value. He will never enslave his friends, his family, and his people. For aliens he's never met, Earth is his home and he won't let anyone destroy it. Realizing it's pointless to try and change his mind through words, Omni-Man then uses Invincible to cause mass chaos. But no matter what he does, it's not enough to break Invincible. His message was simple: he will never join his father in conquering Earth. After this world-shattering conflict, Invincible rises up stronger than before. He protected his family against Angstrom, fought the Thraxian battle against 3 Viltrumites, and made it out of the Invincible War. He has trained and learned from being broken. This all came to a full display in his fight against Conquest. With some help from Oliver and Adam Eve, he defeated the experienced Viltrumite. Now, let's take this developed, smarter, and faster version of Invincible and pit him against Superman. When we look at it, Invincible and Superman do have similar abilities. Both possess flight, strength, speed, and invulnerability, but at entirely different levels. It's like comparing a home cook to a head chef. First, let's look at flight and speed. Invincible can circle the globe, match the speed of rockets, and fly to the moon and back with incredible speed. But Superman flies with more precision and more speed. He's faster than the speed of light. He has raced against the Flash, who has Speed Force in his arsenal and won. Their strength is a similar comparison. Invincible can lift the heaviest object on Earth, an iceberg, and still lift more. Superman can bench press the Earth itself for 5 whole days, breaking only a slight sweat. Lastly, their invulnerability. Invincible is able to withstand tanks, bullets, fatal deadly injuries, and even atomic explosions. But all of that is a joke to Superman, because he can withstand flying through the boiling hot core of a star, a black hole, and a nuclear warhead, still taking 0 damage. Though Invincible has determination, and yes, he would fight till his body gives out, this still would not be enough. Unfortunately for him, Superman outranks him in the same abilities they shared and more. Having trained with Wonder Woman and Batman, Superman will foresee every move and win before Invincible can even blink. So the verdict is clear. Superman wins easily. Following the family tree, let's discuss Invincible's father, Omni-Man. Omni-Man, also known as Nolan Grayson, is a Viltrumite. He comes from a planet called Viltrum with aliens that resemble humans but possess inhuman strength. Before Nolan was born, his people engaged in a mass massacre in what was called the Great Purge. They weeded out all of their weak and killed them.
In order for our people to reach their full potential, we had to remove the weak. It was a long and difficult process. When it was over, our population was cut in half. But what emerged from the ashes was unstoppable.
This formed a population of only the strong and secured a future of undeniable strength. As a result of being brought up with this ideology, Omni-Man is ruthless. It's in his blood. His DNA is warforged. He's a Viltrumite and his sole purpose is to serve his empire's conquest. He assisted in waging war, killing thousands and conquering many planets. He was one of their trusted soldiers. So much that he's referred to as Nolan the Great by the other Viltrumites. But as their territory grew, the Viltrumite forces were spread thin. So the most trusted Viltrumites were assigned a planet each to destroy from within. And as we all know, Omni-Man was assigned Earth. On Earth, Omni-Man disguised himself as a superhero. He meets Debbie on a mission and has a family with her. In this way, he was able to learn about Earth's society and blend in as a travel author. Now, let's analyze him. He's a conqueror, a planetary threat. He's brought entire civilizations to their knees, shaken a whole planet with his fists. He killed the Guardians of the Globe, known as the strongest superhero team on Earth, all by himself. He is overwhelmingly strong. He crushed their heads in his palms, sliced through their bodies with his arms, and severed their heads. These superheroes were not strangers to him. They were friends and allies who risked their lives with him. But that didn't matter. They got in Omni-Man's way, so they had to go. With them becoming splattered organs and blood, he became one step closer to his goal. For him, compassion is a liability, a weakness. He knows he's superior, and he knows he can do anything he wants, and he does it to conquer. He caused mass destruction going on a rampage only to educate his son. Buildings collapse, the ground shatters, and everyone around becomes tools to display his Viltrumite superiority. Thousands die in mere moments when he lets loose. That's not enough though. He stops jets in mid-air, ripping them apart to kill the people inside.
Look what they need to mimic a fraction of our power. It's right to pity them, Mark. Wrong to value them over your own kind.
Besides the countless planetary massacres and almost killing his own son, Omni-Man has been in other battles. His durability and near invulnerability are great assets. When Cecil deployed a satellite orbital laser on him that created a crater on the ground and incinerated the surroundings, he survived. On Thraxa, when another Viltrumite shattered his spine after a gruesome battle, he survived. In the comics, when Invincible, Thetis, and Omni-Man flew through the boiling hot core of the planet Viltrum, it's a no-brainer at this point. No amount of superpowered beings, advanced technology, cataclysmic disasters, and nuclear weapons are strong enough for him. But the question comes up again. Against Superman, how would he hold up? We've already determined that Omni-Man and Superman are undeniably strong. Just like with Invincible, they share abilities too. Omni-Man is strong. He's murdered civilizations at record speed, slaughtered an entire superhero team consisting of speedsters, mages, and immortals in minutes. He can hold his son in front of a speeding train and not even rebound by a millimeter. But Superman is stronger, and Omni-Man can't even hold a candle to him. Superman has pulled a string of planets across space using a chain. He's rebuilt a broken moon and assembled all its parts together. Furthermore, Superman has gone toe-to-toe with godlike beings such as Darkseid, Doomsday, Black Adam, and Wonder Woman. Speed-wise, we know Omni-Man is fast. Fast enough to circle the globe in seconds, fly past jets at hypersonic speed, and burst off into space within seconds. But as we've established, Superman has kept up with the Flash, the fastest being alive. He can travel from the Earth to the sun in seconds. He's so quick that he's neutralized threats before they even get to react. Omni-Man can't match that. Being outranked in the abilities they share, and coupled with the fact that Superman possesses more abilities like heat vision, super breath, X-ray vision, and more, this fight is a win for Superman. Speaking of people close to Invincible, let's talk about his girlfriend, Adam Eve. Adam Eve, also known as Samantha Eve Wilkins, undoubtedly has one of the strongest powers in the show. Her powers come from a government project specifically engineered to create a super weapon. She was designed to have reality-altering abilities that would allow her to manipulate matter, whether living or not, at an atomic level. During her birth, her powers emitted out of control, creating a pink energy through her mother's eyes. Tragically though, her biological mother passes away during the difficult labor process.
This woman is in grave danger.
We can take it from here, Mr.
Dr. Brandyworth. No, no.
Steven Erickson comes to collect Eve right after her birth, but her father, Brandyworth, switches to a stillborn child with Eve to prevent her from living a restricted life of service to the US government. Betsy and Adam Wilkins would become her new adoptive parents who raise her as a normal child. It becomes clear enough though, that Eve is in fact not normal. Her high intellect and curiosity starts showing from an early age. Her first word was literally CH2OH. As she grows up, she displays immense knowledge in science, especially chemistry. It just made sense to her. It clicked with her. One day, after an argument with her father, her mother serves her a chicken dinner. Let's just say young Eve is not a fan, but then something magical, something impossible, something unreal happens. She's able to change that meal into a cheeseburger. That's when she knew she had powers. Experimenting with her new abilities, she's able to manipulate reality. When we're first introduced to Eve on the show, we can already see her display of these abilities. She can make weapons, barriers, platforms in the middle of battle. She can clothe herself and others, showing her precision in her ability. She can reconstruct buildings and structures to minimize the damage after fights. Her ability is not only useful for the destruction of enemies, but also the betterment of lives for everyday people. When she leaves home to live alone in the woods, she starts going out and helping regular folk. She materializes crops for farmers, prevents a landslide from injuring tourists, prevents a forest fire saving the trees. With Eve's powers, she can solve global world issues. She can whip up hundreds of batches of food, rebuild shelter, or create new ones at an unbelievable pace and purify water to make it drinkable. Maximizing the output of her powers at a global scale, world hunger, drought, and homelessness could be a thing of the past. But there are limits to the usage of her powers due to a mental block, and excessive use can cause her mental and physical strain. Eve's powers are not just an extension of her physical ability, but also her mental. She needs to know about things on a molecular level to conjure them up correctly. One time she materializes a community park in a trashed area. Turns out the plot was unstable and the park collapses in on itself, injuring children and adults. Though this does create self-doubt for Eve, she's not one to stay down for long. She starts to take courses for architecture to fill this gap in knowledge. Though Eve can manipulate all matter, she can't do it all the time. When she was given her powers, certain mental blocks were placed that prevent her from being able to manipulate sentient matter. But these psychological blocks can be removed, and we've seen that in her deathly brawl with Conquest. The fight was uneven to begin with. Conquest, a ruthlessly strong Viltrumite, was bound to crush Eve the moment he got close enough. So Eve kept a distance. Protecting herself with armor, conjuring walls, and immensely heavy weapons, she maintained a gap between them for some time. But Conquest could crush through those walls, withstand the weight of those weapons, and eventually would get a hold of Eve and break her armor. Relishing the fight, the smell of blood in the air, and the brutal death of his enemies, he breaks her jaw and delivers the final blow, a lethal punch that goes through her stomach and almost kills Eve. Laying on the ground, bloodied, broken, and her organs spilling out of her, Eve is in a traumatic state.
Such a waste.
I can't do this without you.
Because of the severe mental toll this fight and her injuries take on her, she's able to override those mental blocks. A flood of pink light starts emitting from her body. She heals all her injuries, no longer with a broken jaw or guts spilling out, and in fact, now in pristine condition and health, she deals a lethal attack. An immensely concentrated and powerful laser that rips through Conquest's invulnerable skin and leaves him with only muscle tissue and bones. She cannot maintain this state for long though, and faints. With all this evidence, Eve is basically a god. Once her mental blocks are gone, everyone and everything is her control. She can rearrange guts from the inside. That's not all though. She's able to manipulate all the cells inside a body and break it down at a molecular level. Absolutely brutal and extremely effective. She actually went soft on Conquest. She could have done so much worse. If we take Eve in this state, a state where reality belongs to her and anything she wishes is her will, Superman does not stand a chance. Besides the obvious of killing him from the inside, if Eve happens to have knowledge about kryptonite and its chemical and molecular composition, Superman would be encased in it, trapped in a prison made of shards of the one thing that can hurt him the most. And even worse, prolonged exposure to kryptonite can kill him, so a slow and painful death would await him. Finally, Team Invincible takes a point. Let's follow this trajectory of beings made to be a weapon. Let's talk about Alan the alien next. Alan comes from a planet called Unopa. This planet had achieved harmony between nature and technology with all of its residents happy. That is until the Viltrumites decided Unopa was theirs to take. Within a matter of days, it was conquered. But hidden from the knowledge of the Viltrum Empire, the Unopans were waiting for a crack in their armor, a moment of weakness to strike and reclaim their rightful land. That moment came after decades of wait, but they had severely underestimated their enemies. Their rebellion failed. The Viltrumites were unbelievably strong, quick, and efficient. By the time they were done, the planet was drenched in blood and completely destroyed. But all was not lost. A small group of Unopans managed to escape. This group set up breeding camps to start rebuilding their population. Not only were the breeding camps for population growth, but they were also a means for revenge. Justice served to the ones that took away their homes, families, and lives. The breeding camps were also a genetic enhancement program to create a soldier strong enough to defeat a Viltrumite. They figured if they created an army of these genetically enhanced Unopans, they'd be able to win. Unfortunately for them, the program's results were not promising. That is until Alan. Being the first and only success from the program, Alan's early life was spent in victory. There was not one creature that defeated him, not one fight that he lost. He was raised to be a warrior, constantly developing his extraordinary strength and agility. His genetic advancements gave him the ability to travel space casually, near light speed, and telepathy. Born to be the greatest fighter the universe had ever known, Alan continued his victory streak. But this streak was broken the moment he met an actual Viltrumite, his sworn enemy, the one he's destined to defeat. The fight was a complete and utter failure for Alan. His genetic advancements were in fact not strong enough. Following that loss, the genetic advancement program was stopped and Alan was made a planetary evaluation officer. He roamed the galaxies to evaluate protectors of different planets. But what he was actually looking for was an ally strong enough to defeat his enemy. And he finds this ally, Invincible, a half-human, half-Viltrumite who has stood up to the Viltrum Empire. Soon after this though, Alan gets questioned by 3 Viltrumites about Omni-Man and Invincible, but he refuses to answer. As a consequence, Alan endures powerful punches, his eye being ripped out of its socket and his stomach being pierced only to guard this information.
You will tell us everything about your encounter with the Viltrumite of Earth.
Not technically a question. If...
Are you certain he sired an heir?
Who told you that?
When the Viltrumites leave, he's taken to the hospital and put under intensive care. Thetis, the leader of the coalition of planets, purposely rips the plug on his life support. Because of this, Alan heals stronger. His muscles ripped and bigger than before, his energy rejuvenated and durability increased. This is a whole new version of him. In the comics, there are multiple instances that confirm Alan is now entirely different. In his fight with Lucan, a powerful Viltrumite, Alan is able to kill him with one single punch. This is no longer the Alan who couldn't hold hold a candle to a Viltrumite's strength. It doesn't stop there though. His transformation has put Alan on a level playing field with Nolan. When they spar, Alan notices he's actually able to keep up with Nolan, a high tier Viltrumite. He's able to land clean hits, and even Nolan's surprised, noting that he's reaching Viltrumite's strength. So it's clear that Alan can defeat mid and high tier Viltrumites, though that may take more effort. But what about the elite ones? We find out in his battle with Thrag. Thrag is undoubtedly the strongest Viltrumite, and at this point in the comics, Alan is the figurehead for the anti-Viltrumite cause. At first, Alan is able to ambush Thrag and land multiple hits, demonstrating his raw strength. But as expected, Thrag adjusts quickly. He overpowers Alan and quickly gains the upper hand. Thrag's superior speed combined with his decades of combat experience gave him the edge. Thrag crushes Alan's ribs, breaks multiple bones, and nearly kills him. It's obvious from this that Alan will definitely lose with the elites. Let's imagine a fight with Alan and Superman. As we've seen, Alan has sheer raw strength. So does Superman, and as established, he is always at a higher level. Superman lifted infinity, literally. He's able to survive the crushing force of a neutron star, and he's held a black hole in his hands. Sure, Alan may match up to some lower level Kryptonians, even that's just a maybe, but he definitely would not match up to Superman. Now let's go to another world and speak of another alien, Battle Beast. This ferocious beast was introduced to us in season 1 where Mark and Titan fight against Machine Head. Much has not been revealed yet about him, but one thing is for certain, he's hungry for battle. He has an insatiable desire to meet worthy opponents capable enough to grant him a delicious death in battle. He's bloodthirsty. Up until now, we know that he's from a war-torn world, a world where his strength led him to become its guardian. Eventually, he left his planet to travel the universe and, as said before, find worthy opponents. He's fearless and brutal. He has sheer raw strength that can overpower his opponents. He wields an enormous mace, demonstrating not only strength, but skill. Battle Beast either deems you worthy or dead. In season 1, he manages to take out the entire newly elected Guardian team and Invincible. He easily defeated Black Samson, knocked out Rex with a single slap, and incapacitated Robot with just 2 swings of his mace. On top of that, Monster Girl is almost killed when he crushed her skull between 2 rocks. Invincible also nearly dies in this fight as Battle Beast considers him unworthy and leaves after delivering a hard blow to his ribs.
This battle is beneath me. There is no honor in killing insects.
In season 3, we see Battle Beast locked in the Viltrumite prison. Alan breaks him out, and as soon as he's out, he's searching for his new play toy, a Viltrumite. He knows Viltrumites are strong and he wants a fight. Besides his mace, we see him use his razor-sharp fangs and claws to rip into his enemies. Though we don't get to see much of his fight with the Viltrumite, we see the aftermath. Battle Beast peacefully sleeps, hibernating in space as his enemies' limbs, organs, and blood float around him. But perhaps his most impressive feat is his battle with Thrag. When Battle Beast faced him, Thrag was heavily injured. To even the playing field, Battle Beast caused himself a similar injury and began the fight. This fight would prove to be legendary as it went on for multiple days, with each side relentlessly trying to kill the other. In the end, Thrag gained the upper hand and won, but even in death, he announced that he was happy being killed by a worthy opponent. This goes to show how his entire aim is to fight someone strong, and even if he gets killed in battle, he'll find joy in that glorious death. Now let's compare this ferocious beast with Superman. In the strength department, Battle Beast is obviously lacking when compared to Superman. Superman's strength knows no bounds. I don't think I need to reiterate this anymore. Battle Beast can match up to Viltrumites such as Thrag, Omni-Man, and Invincible, but he isn't on par with Superman's planetary strength. Speed-wise, Superman easily outclasses Battle Beast. Battle Beast doesn't focus on speed because he believes that he doesn't need it. He doesn't outrun his enemies, he goes through them. Flying at the speed of light cannot be compared to keeping up with stronger Viltrumites. Powers are another major factor. While Superman has his heat vision, freeze breath, super sense, and quick healing, Battle Beast is purely physical with enhanced strength and durability. Speaking of durability, Superman survives nukes, fighting gods, in a literal black hole. Battle Beast has displayed great stamina and resilience in his fight against Thrag, which lasted for days, but it would still not be enough. Overall, with better speed, more powers, more strength, durability, and quicker healing, Superman would defeat Battle Beast without breaking a sweat. But hey, who is the real winner when Battle Beast literally finds pleasure in battling and being killed by stronger opponents? Moving on, since we mentioned the brutal fight between Battle Beast and Thrag, let's talk about Thrag next. Thrag is the Grand Regent of the Viltrum Empire. He's the strongest Viltrumite to exist. He was born on Viltrum as the son of one of the closest advisors to Emperor Argal. Bred to be the strongest Viltrumite, Thrag fought in the Viltrumite Civil War where Thetis killed Argal. With his unmatched strength and skill, Thrag was the one to bring back order to the Empire. Eventually granted the title of Grand Regent, he was tasked to find the heir to Argal. When Viltrum finally gets attacked and the coalition arrives there, Thrag is the one to lead the Viltrum army. Thrag is unbelievably strong, surpassing Omni-Man and surpassing any other Viltrumite. Even the combined strength of Invincible and Omni-Man cannot match his might. Thrag, being the strongest of his kind, is able to absorb attacks dealt to him that would otherwise be death blows. He can withstand hits from characters equally strong and fight for extended periods of time without fatigue. Thrag has the standard powers of a Viltrumite, but being the strongest one to ever exist, he exhibits them on exponentially stronger levels. With matched strategical sense and power, Superman and Thrag will be a close fight. But if Thrag is able to outmaneuver Superman's extra abilities, his ruthlessness will give him the upper hand, ultimately with the ability to walk away from the fight. The last but definitely not least to go up against Superman is the Viltrum Empire itself. Viltrumites are aliens that resemble humans but have superhuman strength, as I've already discussed. Now let's put them up against Superman. All the Viltrumites against the Man of Steel in one epic battle. Each Viltrumite possesses flight and speed, superhuman strength and durability, near invulnerability, and fast healing. All bloodthirsty and mighty strong, and in large numbers, the Viltrum Empire is ruthless. They have experience in massacre, destroying and annihilating anyone who comes in their way. They do not hesitate, especially to kill. This empire is led by the strongest Viltrumite, Thrag, and backed up by elite fighters such as Conquest, Nolan, Anissa, Lucan, and General Craig. Superman is strong, but that doesn't mean he won't be overwhelmed by dozens of coordinated attacks by enemies with strength close to him. Another thing is, Viltrumites don't play fair. They're not here to fight. They're here to win. They're conquerors and dominators. It's in their blood. They could easily exploit Superman's love and attack Lois Jane or Earth to blackmail and gain the upper hand. They could even attack the sun itself to destabilize him, as they're not known to need the sun. Superman already could be defeated by Thrag, and when Thrag has his elite warriors backing him, this fight would be a win for the Viltrumites. Who do you think would win against Superman? Comment down below, and if you like this video, check out this one on everyone that could kill Omni-Man. Everyone thinks that Battle Beast vs Superman would be an epic battle, but it's not even close. And I'll be breaking down every reason why. Starting with where they come from, because origins shape everything. Battle Beast was born as Thok, a leonine warrior cursed with unimaginable power and an insatiable thirst for war. Coming from a war-torn world locked in endless conflict, Thok once sought to end the chaos and unite his people. But in doing so, he was cursed. How that happened is never revealed, but he was given unstoppable strength, boundless stamina, and near invulnerability. This curse made him a living engine of destruction. With unmatched mastery of hand-to-hand combat and all known weaponry, Battle Beast became a legend across the cosmos. He tore through the mightiest beings and civilizations, conquering thousands of worlds and earning the dreaded title, the Scourge of the Twin Galaxies. Entire star systems trembled at the whisper of his name. A simple promise of fighting a worthy opponent is enough to win him over, which is how I think Machine Head, a simple gang boss on Earth, was able to hire him. But their alliance brought Battle Beast into direct conflict with Invincible and the Guardians of the Globe. But they ended up being a little more than heroes that he effortlessly defeated and left broken, not even considering them worthy of death.
This battle is beneath me. There is no honor in killing insects.
Later, Battle Beast was captured only to be freed by Omni-Man and Alan the Alien. When he learned there were Viltrumites aboard the floating prison, a race he had never fought before, he demanded that they fight him immediately. He swiftly tore through one of them and, with his bloodlust still raging, he drifted into space, frozen until he was recovered by the coalition of planets. Joining their cause, Battle Beast continued to decimate Viltrumite forces, even using the bodies of dead Viltrumite warriors as weapons against other Viltrumites. But his thirst for a worthy challenge remained unquenched. That challenge finally came in the form of Thrag, the most powerful Viltrumite to ever live. When Battle Beast first went up against Thrag, he was overpowered by the Viltrumite, who called him a nuisance at best. Later, he was tasked by the Coalition to put an end to his opponent once and for all. Having gotten the best gift, he raced to find Thrag. Their fight was the most hyped and arguably the greatest fight in comic book history. The battle begins where Thrag, already weakened from his previous encounter with the Ragnar, faces off against the Battle Beast. The stakes are high as both characters are known for their formidable combat skills. Battle Beast, with his warrior's code, slices open his own chest to ensure that the fight is fair, demonstrating his respect for Thrag and his desire for an honorable battle. As the fight progresses, the comic captures the ferocity of their exchanges. The panels are filled with dynamic action sequences, illustrating the sheer power of their blows. Thrag, despite his injuries, showcases his tactical prowess, using his experience to counter Battle Beast's relentless attacks. Throughout the 3 days of combat, the environment around them becomes a testament to their struggle, with debris and destruction marking the battlefield. The fight is not just physical. It is a clash of wills, with both characters refusing to back down. In the next issue, we see the tide begin to turn as Thrag, fueled by desperation and rage, starts to gain the upper hand. The final moments are glorious as Battle Beast does nothing but thank him for a worthy fight. Thrag would go on to prove himself as the Coalition's greatest threat. He effortlessly punched through Omni-Man, destroyed entire planets, and reduced top-tier warriors who have literally thrown through Viltrum's core to ash with terrifying ease. Going against him alone is no easy feat, and this makes Battle Beast the embodiment of determination. But even going toe-to-toe with Thrag would not prove that Battle Beast has enough power against Superman, because it all boils down to core beliefs. Superman, on the other hand, was born as Kal-El on the doomed planet Krypton as the son of brilliant scientists Jor-El and Lara. As Krypton was hanging on by a thread, its core destabilized by a catastrophic natural event. Jor-El took desperate action. Determined to save his son from the planet's doomed fate, he constructed a small spacecraft and placed infant Kal-El inside just moments before Krypton was destroyed in a massive explosion. The ship traveled across the stars, eventually crash landing near Smallville, Kansas on Earth. There, the baby was discovered by a compassionate farming couple, Jonathan and Martha Kent, who took him in as their own. They named him Clark Kent and raised him with love, humility, and a strong moral compass. As Clark grew, he began to display incredible powers, gifts granted by Earth's yellow sun and its lighter gravity. These abilities included super strength, flight, heat vision, X-ray vision, super speed, and near invulnerability. Though his origins were alien, his heart and values were shaped by the human family that raised him. Embracing those values, Clark eventually moved to Metropolis, where he pursued a career in journalism at the Daily Planet. There, he assumed the identity of Superman, a beacon of hope, truth, and justice. More than just a hero with otherworldly powers, Superman represents the triumph of nurture over nature. His deep bond with humanity defines him. He chooses to protect, to inspire, and to lead by example, not because he has to, but because it's the right thing to do. This becomes the core difference between them. Superman is the ultimate protector of Earth. In every sense, he stands for everything humanity embodies, a being of near infinite strength guided by compassion and unwavering moral clarity. Battle Beast, on the other hand, represents something far more primal. Raw power, endless rage, and a legacy of conquest. He doesn't conquer for an empire expansion like Omni-Man, he battles for the thrill, for the test, for the war itself. Cursed with invincibility and driven by an unquenchable thirst for combat, Battle Beast is not pretending to be human. He never cared. He's the purest form of a warrior god, and he exists only to fight. Battle Beast only cares about finding an opponent greater than he is. Even when Thrag kills him, he thanks the Viltrumite for giving him a worthy death. But that isn't their only difference. Superman's strength is so immense it bends reality. In more abstract feats, he once entered the metaphysical realm to turn a page in the Book of Destiny, a book whose infinite pages each carry infinite weight. That's a metaphor, yes, but also a feat of cosmic will. In a more concrete sense, he moved the entire planet Earth out of a rogue planet's path. That's not a moment of extreme adrenaline. That's just Superman being Superman. He's held black holes in his bare hands. He's lifted Earth mass simulators near the sun non-stop for 5 days. He has wrestled gods, stopped collapsing dimensions, and torn apart time loops through force and willpower. Battle Beast? He's not a planet mover. He doesn't bend books of destiny, but he breaks warriors. He's fought and killed the most powerful beings across galaxies. He's conquered thousands of worlds, not through technology or armies, but with his own hands. He tore through armies of Viltrumites, used them as weapons, and laughed through it. His battle with Thrag, the strongest Viltrumite, lasted days. A cosmic fest that shattered landscapes and pushed both to the brink of death. When Thrag faltered, Battle Beast cut himself open just to keep the fight fair. That's not a stretch. strategy, that's an obsession. He doesn't want to win. He wants to fight someone worthy. Speed becomes a similar comparison. Superman is a blur to anything bound by time. He reacts in microseconds, can fly from Earth to Vega, which is 25 light years away, in minutes, and has crossed the universe in seconds. He's outraced the Flash on rare occasions, even keeping up when Flash taps into the Speed Force. He's disabled global satellite weapons in seconds, caught bullets after they were fired, and dodged lightspeed attacks like they're nothing. Battle Beast is fast. Very fast. But he isn't flying between star systems. He doesn't dodge beams at light speed or blitz entire continents in moments. He's never needed to. His durability means he doesn't run from attacks. He runs through them. But if we're talking pure speed and reaction, Superman is in another dimension, literally and figuratively. But even Battle Beast's durability is no match. Superman has taken punches from beings who shatter dimensions. He's tanked Darkseid's Omega beams, which erase people from reality. He's endured sun core level heat, 15 million degrees Celsius, and gravitational pressures that would crush entire planets. And he doesn't just survive it. He absorbs it. There is no real measure to how much Battle Beast can endure, so let's look at it from the view of his greatest opponent. Viltrumites are strong by nature. Omni-Man punches Invincible through buildings, cities, a mountain, and across a multi-mile distance. Conquest does the same and breaks out of a prison weighing 400 tons casually. Thrag is the greatest one of them all. Top tier characters who have flown through the core of Viltrum, withstanding its heat and dramatically destroying it, are routinely one-shotted by Thrag. He gives a brutal beating to anyone who even dares to face him. Standing your ground in battle against such a character is a testimony to Battle Beast's durability. He's walked through cities of flame and armies of monsters. He's not just durable, he's functionally unkillable to most. But cosmic? Abstract? Dimensional? That's Superman's playground. And when it comes to strategy on the battlefield, Superman once again is unparalleled. Here's where most people drastically underestimate Superman. They see the muscles, the cape, the planet-lifting strength, and assume he's just a blunt instrument of force. But Superman's mind is as formidable as his fists. He's not just a fighter, he's a polymath, a philosopher, a leader, and a tactician who has outwitted gods and cosmic entities alike. By trade, Clark Kent is a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journalist, trained to spot patterns, uncover deception, and think critically under pressure. His years at the Daily Planet aren't just a disguise. They sharpen his ability to analyze situations quickly, observe from multiple angles, and find truth in chaos. These skills bleed into battle, where his instincts often rival Batman's in tactical foresight. But he's also a scientist, raised by Jonathan Kent on a farm but schooled by Kryptonian technology, particularly the teachings of his biological father, Jor-El, whose AI lives on in the Fortress of Solitude. From understanding black holes to building containment fields for reality-warping threats, Superman has often solved problems that stump even the greatest minds of the Justice League. In Action Comics number 775, for example, Superman defeats the Elite, a group of brutal anti-heroes, not just through power, but by exposing the moral and tactical flaws in their philosophy. He's also a seasoned battlefield commander. He's led the Justice League in conflicts involving gods, aliens, and multi-dimensional threats. He's worked beside Wonder Woman in ancient warfare, trained in Amazonian combat tactics. He has even sparred with Batman, one of the greatest minds in the DC universe, who has admitted that Superman isn't just raw force, but a quick-thinking, high-adaptable fighter. In the Trinity series and others, the synergy between Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman isn't just about power balance, it's about strategic harmony. In terms of raw experience, Superman has lived through centuries in alternate timelines, as seen in All-Star Superman, Kingdom Come, and Superman Red Sun, adapting not only physically but philosophically. He solved 5-dimensional puzzles from Mr. Mxyzptlk, debated with cosmic intellects like Brainiac, and withstood the mental assaults of telepaths like Manchester Black and Martian Manhunter. He also speaks every known language on Earth, learned through exposure, Kryptonian memory implants, and sheer will. Beyond that, he's fluent in Interlac, the universal language of the 30th century legion of superheroes, the Martian dialect, and various Kryptonian dialects, making him invaluable in diplomacy and alien relations. In Superman Up in the Sky, he tracks a kidnapped child across space-time, navigating hostile worlds using his intelligence just as much as his strength. Even in combat, Superman doesn't just punch, he calculates. He's shown in multiple comics like Superman for Tomorrow and GLA, Tower of Babel, to analyze his opponent's psychology, physiology, and environment mid-battle, finding precise pressure points, weaknesses, and non-lethal ways to neutralize threat. And it's not all theory. Superman was trained under Wildcat in boxing, under Batman in stealth and tactics, and under Wonder Woman in divine combat. He's absorbed strategies from alien species, new gods like Orion, and warrior cultures across galaxies. So when Superman enters a fight, he's not just bringing strength, he's bringing centuries of knowledge, a mind enhanced by Kryptonian genetics, a heart trained in journalism, diplomacy, and morality. The kind of battle-tested wisdom that only a being who has fought alongside gods and humans alike could possess. In short, Superman doesn't just win with might, he wins with mind, method, and meaning. Battle Beast in comparison does not even hold a candle to this. He's a warrior through and through. He's war incarnate, a living embodiment of conflict forged not in training halls, but in blood-soaked battlefields that stretch across stars. He wasn't taught to fight, he was built for it. From the moment he was cured with power, his path has been one of relentless, unending combat. And in that process, he didn't just become skilled, he became a monster of martial perfection. Over lifetimes, Battle Beast mastered every form of known weaponry, from blades and hammers to alien plasma axes and gravitic chains. He doesn't use weapons, he becomes them. He's fought the greatest champions of thousands of worlds and left their civilizations in ruin. His reputation alone was enough to instill fear across galaxies, so feared that many refused to speak his name aloud, choosing superstition over courage. That's not a legend, that's a precedent. But here's where the contrast becomes stark. Battle Beast doesn't adapt, he doesn't evolve, he endures. Strategy? Tactics? Formation? They're irrelevant to him. His approach is pure primal dominance. Overwhelm, overpower, destroy. While others assess terrain or weigh risk versus reward, Battle Beast charges headfirst because for him, there is no scenario where he should not be the victor. His instincts are refined to an art. Yes, he can read attacks, respond with vicious precision, and dismantle entire squads in seconds. But that's reaction, not reflection. He's a lone wolf, not because he prefers solitude, but because no one survives long enough to fight beside him. His battles are duels, even if he's surrounded. He doesn't coordinate with allies, he outpaces them. He doesn't set traps, he breaks through them. And in moments where a tactician would retreat to regroup, Battle Beast surges forward even if it means death, because for him, a glorious end in combat is not failure, it's fulfillment. There is a brilliance to his savagery, but it's the brilliance of a hurricane. Not calculated, not flexible, but unstoppable. He once tore through Viltrumite warriors using their own corpses as weapons. He doesn't outthink his enemies, he outlasts them, he outbleeds them. And if he dies, he does so with a grin. But this also marks his limit. While Superman learns from every opponent, Battle Beast challenges them to break him. Where Superman shifts tactics mid-fight, Battle Beast doubles down. Where Superman views each life as something to protect, Battle Beast sees life as a test to be survived or ended. He is a glorious engine of destruction, but not a general, not a tactician, and certainly not a leader. In the end, Battle Beast isn't built to win wars. He's built to die in one. But through all of this, Superman's greatest strength is restraint. It's easy to be overwhelmed by his power, to see the heat vision, the speed, the strength to drag planets behind him and assume that is what makes him invincible. But the truth is far more profound. Superman's power isn't defined by what he can do. It's defined by what he chooses not to. He could end most battles before they begin. He could crush bones with a flick of his finger, silence tyrants with a glance, vaporize entire armies in a moment. But he doesn't, because Clark Kent, Kal-El, believes in something greater than power. He believes in light, in mercy, in giving people a chance to be better even if they don't deserve it. He holds back not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Because when gods walk among mortals, only one thing prevents them from becoming monsters: choice. But make no mistake, when that choice is taken from him, when innocent lives hang by a thread, when diplomacy fails and the monsters refuse to stop, Superman doesn't hesitate. And when he cuts loose, even cosmic deities falter. The ground trembles, time distorts, the air ignites. Superman unleashes truth, and it comes in the shape of a fist moving faster than thought, backed by a soul forged in hope. He ends wars in seconds. He silences chaos with absolute precision. No mess, no cruelty, no ego, just justice. Now, let's look at Battle Beast. He has no concept of restraint, no dial to turn down. He is all fire, no filter. A warrior who doesn't fight to protect, or to restore, or even to win. He fights to fight. Every blow he throws is meant to kill. Every enemy is a test, not of morality, but of endurance. And if they fall short, if they die screaming in his wake, he offers no remorse. No reflection, just a growl and the hunger for the next worthy opponent. It's not bravery, it's a mania, a curse disguised as strength. He doesn't want peace, he doesn't believe in it. In fact, he fears it, because peace means the battle is over, and if there's no battle, who is he? That's the total difference. Superman fights because he has to. Battle Beast fights because he needs to. One seeks to end suffering, the other thrives in it. Superman can break worlds, but choose to heal them. Battle Beast can tear through legions, but never one stops to rebuild what he destroys. And when the dust settles, that difference echoes loudest. Because Superman doesn't just win, he brings closure. He ends the fight decisively, surgically, with precision born from principle. No wasted motion, no collateral carnage, just what needs to be done. Battle Beast never finishes anything. He kills, he conquers, then he leaves. There's no arc, no conclusion, just a trail of blood and hunger that never fades. So when they collide, when restraint meets rage, only one walks away in control. Superman doesn't fight to prove he's the strongest. He fights to prove that strength alone is not enough. Superman is a symbol. He's the ideal. He's what power looks like when guided by love and principle. Battle Beast is a warning. He's what happens when power serves only the ego, when the purest of strength overtakes the reason to fight in the first place. Superman chooses humanity, Battle Beast rejects it. Superman protects life, Battle Beast tests it. Their stories are both powerful, but their values are fundamentally opposed. This isn't a rivalry, it's a moral mismatch. In the end, Battle Beast is a god of war. Superman is a god of mercy. One fights because he wants to, the other because he has to. Battle Beast is glorious, brutal, and unforgettable, but Superman is inevitable. Let's imagine it. No kryptonite, no tricks, no backup, no speeches, no limits, just Superman and Battle Beast. Neutral ground, a barren world forgotten by time. No civilians to save, no cities to protect, just endless terrain and an open sky. A place where restraint has no reason to exist. Battle Beast doesn't wait. He never does. He charges with a roar that cracks the air, eyes glowing with bloodlust, his war axe raised high. It's not strategy, it's instinct. It's a need. A single downward strike and it connects. Superman doesn't dodge. He lets it happen. The weapon bites. It cuts skin that's withstood black holes. Blood, Kryptonian blood, is drawn. Battle Beast grins. Finally, a worthy fight. Then, Superman moves. No words, just a blur. A punch faster than thought, faster than Battle Beast can process, connects with his chest and sends him crashing through mountains, through oceans, into orbit. The impact alone shifts the planet's axis. But Battle Beast is laughing. He claws his way from a crater the size of a city, shakes off molten rock, and launches himself back into the battle. What follows isn't a fight, it's war. They collide again and again, trading strikes that rupture tectonic plate. Shockwaves flatten landscapes. Volcanic eruptions ripple in their wake. Clouds spiral into unnatural patterns. They brawl across oceans, into the stratosphere, through the moon's crust, and back again. A storm of muscle, will, and fury. But Battle Beast doesn't adapt. He just endures. Every attack he throws is raw, primal, and predictable. He's a beast, relentless, ferocious, but single-minded. Superman adapts. He studies each movement, each pattern, each tell, and slowly, methodically, he begins to outpace him, to outthink him. He doesn't just match strength, he leverages intellect, tactics, timing. Battle Beast lands hits, but fewer. Superman starts landing more, harder, and then he decides to end it once and for all. A blinding solar flare burst, channeled with surgical focus, engulfs Battle Beast. His armor melts, his axe vaporizes mid-swing, then a strike faster than sound, then light, then thought collapses the very space around them, warping gravity, halting momentum. Battle Beast is dazed. For the first time, he hesitates. Superman grabs him. A grip like the core of a dying star. Crushing. Not to kill, but to stop. The resoluteness and a calm composure, he ends the fight. Battle Beast fails, unconscious or broken, it doesn't matter. There's nothing left to prove. The warrior got his fight, and Superman? He gave it everything and still held back just enough. So, the answer to who would win in Battle Beast vs. Superman? The answer is obvious. No matter the version, the universe, or the arena, Superman walks away every time. Everyone thinks that Superman vs. Metro Man would be an epic clash between two alien heroes with nearly identical powers, but it's not even close. And I'm gonna break down every reason why this fight ends before it even begins. Starting with their actual feats, because demonstrated power is everything. Metro Man, from the 2010 masterpiece film Megamind, is an alien from the Glowpunk Quadrant, sent to Earth as an infant during his planet's doom by a black hole. He's raised by a wealthy family, Lord and Lady Scott becoming Metro City's protector and Megamind's rival. His backstory mirrors Superman's, but with comedic twists. He grows up privileged and heroic, bullying young Megamind in school. The film presents him as Metro City's idolized defender, clashing with villain Megamind since childhood.
That was the day I met Mr. Goody Two-Shoes.
A baby! A baby can fly.
It was there that I once again ran into Mr. Goody Two-Shoes. He bought their affections with showmanship, extravagant gifts of deliciousness. Evil is sent to quiet time in the corner.
But backstory doesn't win fights, power does, and Metro Man's is insane. Strength operates at city destruction levels. Metro Man collapses buildings by leaning against them. He catches and stops Megamind's ship, which is large enough to carry multiple people and equipment. When Titan, powered by Metro Man's abilities, levels cities and throws skyscrapers, that's Metro Man's strength being demonstrated. His heat vision destroys substantial structures. His strength feats scale to city destruction via heat vision alone. That's impressive, but we need to keep that benchmark in mind. City level. Speed is where Metro Man's reputation really comes from. His standout feat involves perceiving time as frozen during a death ray attack. He reflects on life, reads books, leaves and re-enters scenes before impact. Fans calculated this is faster than light, equating 1 second to a day in his perception.
My head wasn't in the game that day. Using my super speed, I decided to go clear my head. Tried to get my mind off how I was feeling. Began to realize, despite all my powers, each and every citizen of Metro had something I didn't. A choice. I've always had to be what the city wanted me to be. Then it suddenly hit me. I can be whatever I want to be. No one said this hero thing had to be a lifetime gig.
This time freeze ability is hyped as unbeatable in casual matchup discussions. If Metro Man can move while everyone else is frozen, how do you even counter that? The perception feat suggests relativistic or near light speeds, giving him theoretical advantages against opponents who can't match that perception. Durability shows no explicit on-screen damage. Metro Man tanks explosions without visible harm. When Titan, possessing Metro Man's power, survives missiles and building crashes, that demonstrates the durability threshold. Metro Man never shows injury in the film, suggesting high resistance to conventional damage. But here's a critical limitation. We never see Metro Man tested by anything beyond Earth-level threats. His durability is impressive against what Megamind throws at him, but Megamind's weapons are Earth technology-based, even if they're advanced. There's no planetary scale threat pushing Metro Man to his limits. Other abilities round out his power set. Super hearing that detects ants miles away, flight that crosses city distances rapidly, laser vision powerful enough to destroy city blocks, invulnerability that makes conventional weapons irrelevant, powers transferable via DNA to Titan and HAL. Metro Man's abilities mirror Superman's but are limited to what's shown in one film. There are no decades of comic feats, no multiple writers pushing his capabilities higher, no escalating threats requiring him to demonstrate planetary or cosmic level power. But it's still looking good for Metro Man, so we've established Metro Man's capabilities objectively. Now let's look at what Superman brings. Superman, originating from Krypton as Kal-El, sent to Earth as a baby before his planet's destruction, raised by Jonathan and Martha Kent in Smallville, Kansas. His story begins on doomed Krypton, where scientists Jor-El and Lara sent their infant son to Earth in a rocket ship moments before planetary explosion. Crash landing in Smallville, he's found and raised by farmers who instilled Midwestern values of truth, justice, and humility. As Clark Kent, he grows into his powers under Earth's yellow sun, becoming Metropolis's protector. This origin has evolved across comics, with variations like pre-crisis time travel to observe Krypton's end and the 1978 Christopher Reeve version. But origin stories don't win fights. Demonstrated capabilities do, and Superman's capabilities span over 8 decades of comics and films. Strength operates at planetary to universal scales. scales. Superman lifts infinite weights in some storylines, representing endless realities. He tows star systems in comics. He moves entire planets. In films, he shifts tectonic plates and survives black hole-like singularities. Superman's strength feats are vast. He doesn't just destroy cities. He can accidentally destroy cities by not holding back. His upper limits have been tested against cosmic tier threats repeatedly. When Superman punches at full power, the consequences are geological. The infamous infinite book feat represents this symbolically, lifting books containing infinite realities. While that's high-end scaling, even his consistent showings put him at moving planetary masses and fighting beings who threaten solar systems. Speed achieves and exceeds faster than light travel. Superman outruns time itself in some stories. He travels through dimensions via velocity. He reacts to omega beams, which track targets across space instantly. Comics show him circling Earth in seconds and traveling interstellar distances rapidly. Superman keeps pace with Flash, the fastest man alive, and reacts to attacks from beings who move at speeds making light look slow. His perceptions function at these speeds too. When omega beams, which are explicitly faster than light and never miss, come at him, Superman dodges them through prediction and reactions.
We're gonna have to move fast.
Not a problem for me.
They're splitting up.
They're locked on us.
This isn't time-stop perception like Metro Man. This is actually moving faster than light across measurable distances. Superman has traveled to other star systems, other dimensions, and through time via sheer speed. That's demonstrated travel speed with distance covered, not just perception. Durability survives universal scale threats. Superman tanks multiversal threats in crossover comics. He survives point-blank supernovas. He regenerates from atomic dispersion. His weakness to kryptonite and magic is well known, but he overcomes these through willpower in many stories. Superman's durability has been tested by attacks that destroy planets, by beings whose punches crack dimensional barriers, by reality warping powers. He's fought Darkseid, who operates on new god physics beyond normal reality. He survived attacks from Doomsday, who killed him, but he came back stronger. The key point: Superman's durability is tested against threats that would vaporize planets. Metro Man's durability is tested against threats that destroy buildings. The scale difference is multiple orders of magnitude. Other abilities expand his versatility. Genius intellect that learns languages instantly, super senses that hear across planets, heat vision hot as the sun's core, freeze breath that can cool to absolute zero, X-ray vision that sees through anything except lead. Superman's power set isn't just hit hard and move fast. He has tactical options for any scenario. Need to freeze an opponent? Freeze breath. Need to attack from range? Heat vision that melts continents. Need to find someone? Super hearing and X-ray vision that scan the planet. Combat experience spans fighting gods, aliens, and crisis. Superman's moral code and extensive combat history against beings like Darkseid give him strategic depth. He's fought magical beings, Kryptonian criminals and equal power, cosmic tyrants, and reality warpers. He's teamed with the Justice League against threats that endanger the multiverse. Superman's narrative emphasizes duty and growth through trials. He doesn't quit when bored. He doesn't retire when unchallenged. He keeps fighting because it's right, which gives him mental fortitude Metro Man lacks. The consistency factor matters. Superman's feats are vast and consistent across 80 plus years of publication. Multiple writers, multiple continuities, but the core capabilities remain. Planetary plus strength, faster than light speed, durability against cosmic threats, versatile power set, strategic intelligence, and unwavering heroism. Metro Man's feats come from one 95-minute film. There's no decades of escalation, no consistency testing across multiple writers and threats. His power ceiling is defined by what DreamWorks Animation chose to show in Megamind, not by decades of comic book writers one-upping each other. So we've established both fighters objectively. Metro Man with city-level threats and time perception speed, Superman with planetary to cosmic feats and demonstrated faster than light travel. Now let's see what happens when they actually fight. While the outcome is clear, understanding why it plays out is what matters. Scenario 1, speed battle. This is the scenario Metro Man supporters point to. If Metro Man can perceive time as frozen and move while Superman is quote-unquote stopped, doesn't that give him the win? Here's the problem. Metro Man's speed feed is perception based. He perceives time slowly, reads books, reflects on life, but the actual distance he covers during that frozen time is measured in city blocks at most. He moves around Metro City, but we don't see him crossing continents or planets. Superman's speed feats involve actual distance traveled at faster than light velocities. He crosses interstellar space. He outruns time-based attacks. He reacts to omega beams, which are explicitly faster than light homing attacks that bend space. I think this leans towards Superman's reactions being comparable or superior to Metro Man's time freeze because Superman dodges FTL attacks and matches speedsters. Even if Metro Metro Man perceives Superman as moving slowly, can he actually hurt Superman in that state? The scenario plays out with Metro Man activating his time perception, moving at what feels like normal speed to him while the world is frozen. He approaches Superman and throws a punch. His city-level strength connects with Superman's planetary durability body. Nothing happens. Superman's durability exceeds anything Metro Man has demonstrated harming. Meanwhile, Superman's perception isn't frozen. He's fought Flash, who moves faster than Metro Man's time perception suggests. Superman reacts, counters, and his speed feats include demonstrated FTL travel, not just perception. Scenario 2, straight brawl. No tricks, no time perception, just two flying bricks trading blows. Metro Man's strength collapses buildings. Superman's strength moves planets. Metro Man's punches generate city block destroying force. Superman's punches, when unrestrained, have planetary consequences. The gap is enormous. Metro Man's durability has never been tested beyond Earth weapons. Superman's durability has been tested by beings who destroy planets casually. When Metro Man hits Superman, he's hitting somebody whose body has tanked supernova level attacks. When Superman hits Metro Man, he's hitting someone whose durability ceiling is completely unknown beyond Earth weapons don't hurt him. Superman's planetary feats eclipse Metro Man's building level demonstrations. In a brawl, Superman lands planet shattering blows while Metro Man lands city block shattering blows. The accumulated damage heavily favors Superman. Scenario 3, tactical approach. What if both fighters use strategy instead of just brawling? Superman's genius intellect and combat experience against gods, aliens, and Crisis give him strategic depth. He's fought Darkseid, mastered Kryptonian martial arts, and teamed up with the Justice League. His tactical options include heat vision from range, freeze breath to slow opponents, super breath to create hurricanes, x-ray vision to find weaknesses, and super hearing to track movements. Metro Man's strategic showing involves faking his death to retire. His combat experience is beating Megamind repeatedly, which requires minimal strategy given his power advantage. He relies on overwhelming force and perception speed, not complex tactics. Superman analyzes Metro Man's capabilities, recognizes the speed perception as dangerous, but tests Metro Man's durability with progressively stronger attacks. Once Superman realizes Metro Man can't actually hurt him significantly, he adjusts to end the fight efficiently. Metro Man's lack of combat drive becomes critical here. He retired because unchallenged power bored him.
I'm alive.
But we saw your skeleton.
You both deserve the truth. We were kind of going through the motions. Using my super speed, I decided to go clear my head. Then I realized we had done this same silly charade our entire lives, but I just felt stuck. But what about what I wanted to do? Then it suddenly hit me. I do have a choice. That's when I got the brilliant idea to fake my death. So I borrowed a prop from a nearby nursing school. Metro Man was finally dead.
Against Superman, someone who genuinely challenges him for the first time, does Metro Man push through or does he back down? His character suggests he might not have the determination Superman demonstrates. Scenario 4, environmental factors. Location matters in superhero battles. Does environment change outcomes? In Metro City, Metro Man has home advantage knowledge, but Superman's super senses negate that quickly. In Metropolis, Superman has access to potential equipment or allies. In neutral space, neither has advantages. The problem for Metro Man is Superman can fight in any environment. Deep space, Superman survives indefinitely. Underwater, Superman doesn't need to breathe frequently. Inside a star, Superman's durability handles it, powered by solar energy. Earth City, Superman holds back to avoid collateral damage but still outclasses Metro Man. Metro Man's showings are exclusively in Earth City environments. We don't know if he can survive in space or extended periods, though he likely can given his power set. But even in ideal conditions for Metro Man, the power gap remains. Scenario 5, psychological warfare. Superman fights for justice, holding back to protect people. Metro Man protects, but quits when unchallenged. How does psychology affect this? If they fight in populated areas, both would initially hold back to avoid casualties. Superman has vastly more experience fighting while protecting civilians. His control over his strength is precise from decades of practice. Metro Man holds back too, but his control is less tested. As the fight escalates, Superman's unwavering heroism keeps him focused. Metro Man's boredom with unchallenged power might make him less motivated when he realizes Superman is genuinely stronger. The mental age goes to the the hero who never quits versus the hero who literally quit and faked his death. Superman's moral code and unyielding heroism contrast with Metro Man's self-aware performance, implying Superman has psychological advantages in prolonged conflict. So, based on everything we've covered, who actually wins? Superman dominates completely. Superman lands planet-shattering blows that Metro Man's untested durability likely can't handle, while Metro Man's building-level attacks don't threaten Superman's cosmic-tested durability. If you enjoyed this video and want to see why Omni-Man vs. Metro Man isn't close, click the video on the screen. Invincible has come a long way since his first appearance on the show, but by season 3, he's not just surviving Viltrumites, he's starting to destroy them. He's faster, smarter, more ruthless, and finally starting to live up to his name. But how would this version of Invincible cope against Superman? Today, we'll find out. First, their origins, because origins shape everything. For Mark Grayson, his origin is no accident, no twist of fate, no radioactive spider, or experimental explosion. His story begins long before he ever donned a suit or even threw a punch. It begins in a distant world where strength is law and mercy is weakness. That world is Viltrum, a brutal advanced planet ruled by a species that considers itself the pinnacle of evolution, the Viltrumites.
By the time I was born, Viltrum was already the greatest empire in our galaxy. We decided to make it the only empire.
They look human, but they are anything but. With godlike strength, flight, enhanced healing, and virtual immortality, Viltrumites are bred for conquest, but their real power lies in their ideology. Centuries ago, they acted out the most horrifying form of this ideology, and that was slaughtering the weak among their own kind until only the strongest survived. Thousands died. What remained was a civilization that knew only war, domination, and the unshakable belief that it was their divine right to rule the universe. This is where Nolan Grayson comes in. He was a top enforcer of the Viltrum Empire. On Earth, he's known as Omni-Man, the greatest hero the world has ever known. But behind the charming smile and perfect jawline is a conqueror sent to weaken the planet from within. His mission was to gain the trust of the planet and learn its weakness, then prepare for joining the Viltrumite Empire. And he did just that. Decades passed. Nolan embedded himself into human society. He took a job as a travel writer, settled out in the suburbs, and fell in love with a human woman, Debbie.
Mark,
Strike one.
you and I, we made him. This is humanity.
Their union was more than a disguise. It became a complication, because when Mark Grayson, their son, was born, something unexpected happened. It was the beginning of the end of the universe as Nolan knew it. Mark was different. He was half human, half Viltrumite, a hybrid born of two worlds. For years, he showed no signs of power. He was a normal kid in high school, a little awkward, a little sweet, and a little nerdy, obsessed with comics and unsure of who he was. But that normalcy was temporary, because Mark wasn't made to live an ordinary life. His DNA was warforged, and eventually, it woke up. It happened behind a burger joint. One day, as Mark took out the trash at his part-time job, a bag of garbage rocketed into the sky, thrown with a force he didn't know he possessed. That was the moment. His powers had arrived, and everything that came with it. Flight, strength, and insane durability. The Viltrumite side of him had finally activated. He was no longer just Mark. He was becoming something more. He was becoming... Nolan saw it immediately, and his training began soon after. He taught Mark how to control his strength, how to fly, how to fight. But there was always something beneath the surface. An intensity, a pressure, a weight that Mark couldn't quite place. His father's lessons weren't just about becoming a hero, they were about becoming something greater.
I pushed him pretty far. It's what he needs.
Did you maybe push too far?
Are you questioning me?
Nolan believed Mark was destined to be more than just a protector. He was to be a ruler. But Mark wasn't raised on Viltrum. He was raised on Earth. He loved humanity with all its messiness, its failures, and its heart. He believed in justice, in compassion, in second chances. While his powers connected him to Viltrum, his morals were undeniably human. This internal conflict, this war between blood and belief, would define his coming of age. And then the truth came out. When the Viltrumite Empire deemed Earth ripe for conquest, Nolan revealed his true nature. In a moment that shattered everything Mark had ever known, his father slaughtered the Guardians of the Globe, the planet's greatest heroes, and then finally exposed his mission to his son. Earth was weak, he said. The people were fragile. Empathy was a flaw. He begged Mark to join him to help liberate the planet and prepare it for Viltrumite rule. But Mark refused. And so father and son clashed in one of the most brutal battles ever waged. Cities crumbled in their wake, mountains cracked, the planet trembled. But worse than the physical destruction was the emotional one. Every punch was a betrayal. Every blow tore at Mark's identity. He wasn't just fighting fighting to stop his father, he was fighting for the right to be himself. Despite being outmatched, despite taking blow after bone-shattering blow, Mark never gave up. He begged his father to stop, to see Earth not as a target, but as a home. He reminded him of the love they shared, the life they built, and in a single moment, while standing over his broken, bloodied son, Nolan hesitated. A flicker of doubt, of pain, of love cracked the Viltrumite armor. He fled.
What will you have after 500 years?
I still have you.
That day changed everything. Mark didn't win the fight, but he won something more powerful. He won the moral high ground. He chose humanity, he chose compassion, he chose Earth. From that moment forward, Mark embraced his identity as Invincible. He wasn't just a boy with powers. He wasn't just the son of Omni-Man, he was the protector of a planet his father tried to destroy. A bridge between two pieces. A hero forged not by accident, but by choice. But the shadow of Viltrum never vanished. The Empire still loomed. The blood in his veins still carried its legacy. And every battle, every choice, every loss reminded Mark that being invincible didn't mean being unbreakable. It meant refusing to stay down. His origin isn't just about power, it's about the responsibility of power. It's not about gaining abilities, but surviving them, carrying the weight of a past he didn't choose and using it to forge a future he believes in. And this is what he embodies. Mark Grayson is invincible not because he can't be hurt, he's invincible because he never gives up. Now let's look at Superman. Superman, otherwise known as Kal-El's origin story, begins not with power, not with war, but with loss. He was born on Krypton, a world of science, intellect, and grandeur. A planet so advanced, its people forgot humility. Krypton was doomed, not by enemies, not by war, but by arrogance. Warnings of planetary collapse were ignored, and when end came, it came with fire and silence. In the face of that catastrophe, two people chose love over despair. Jor-El and Lara, Krypton's greatest minds. They had only minutes left, but in those final breaths, they made a decision that would echo across the galaxy. They placed their only son, Kal-El, into a tiny ship barely large enough for a child, and launched it toward a distant, yellow-sunned world called Earth. It wasn't just an escape, it was a hope.
You'll be an outcast. A freak. They'll kill him.
How? You'll be a god to them.
He arrived in America, landing in the fields of Smallville, Kansas, where he was found by Jonathan and Martha Kent. They were humble, hardworking farmers with loving hands and open hearts. They named him Clark and raised him as their own. They taught him that values mattered more than abilities, that being good was more important than being great. But Clark Kent was not ordinary. Under Earth's yellow sun, something impossible began to happen. His alien physiology transformed him. The light itself awakened something divine in his cells. His strength grew. He could fly. He could see through walls. Bullets bounced off him. Fire couldn't touch him. His mind processed faster than the most advanced computers. He could hear a whisper from miles away, breath in space, and move at the speed of light. He became a god in a world of mortals. But what makes Superman the symbol that he is, isn't what he can do. It's what he chooses not to do. He could rule. He could conquer. He could bend the world to his will with a glance. He is Omni-Man on steroids. But he doesn't, because Clark Kent was raised with the greatest gift Krypton never knew: humanity. His parents didn't train him to dominate, they taught him to care, to listen, to help, and to serve. They showed him that strength means nothing without compassion, that power is a burden, not a privilege. While other heroes were shaped by vengeance or violence, Superman was shaped by love. He wasn't made for war, he was made to be better. He wears the S not as a symbol of status, but as a symbol of hope.
The symbol of the House of El means hope. That's what you can bring them.
It's not a weapon, it's a promise. Because to him, the real power isn't in lifting buildings or stopping bullets. It's to inspire others, in making people believe they can be better too, that the impossible can be achieved, that justice is not just an idea, it's a responsibility. And yet, for all his power, Superman lives with a quiet loneliness. He is the last son of a dead world, the only living Kryptonian for much of his life. He looks human, he sounds human, he loves humans, but he will always be alien. There are no more like him, no Kryptonian festivals, no shared language of his youth, no memories of his mother's lullaby or his father's voice, just silence where a culture used to be. But rather than retreat into grief, Superman turns that pain into purpose. He chooses to belong. He becomes a journalist, not to chase fame, but to stay close to humanity's heartbeat, to understand its fears, its joys, its stories. He walks among us, not above us. And in doing so, he learns every day how fragile, how miraculous, and how worth protecting life really is. is. His greatest enemies often mistake his restraint for weakness. They see his mercy as a flaw, but they don't understand the truth. His strength is not an advantage. It's a limit. Because when you're Superman, you can't afford to lose control. You can't fight with rage. You don't get to be careless. Every battle is a calculation. Every step is measured. Every punch is pulled. He operates under a pressure no one else can comprehend. A single mistake could flatten a city. A second of selfishness could cost millions of lives. And still, he shows up. Every day, he chooses to be the best of us. Not because he has to, not because he was programmed to, but because he believes in us. That's what makes Superman truly invincible. Not the lasers, not the strength, not the flight, but the hope. The unshakable, impossible belief that this world, flawed as it is, can rise. That people can change. That goodness matters. He's not a savior from above. He's a man trying to live up to legacies. The wisdom of Krypton and the heart of Kansas. Kal-El may be the last son of Krypton, but Superman? Superman is Earth's son now. And he's chosen to carry out burdens, to reflect our potential, and to remind us that hope, no matter how buried, always rises.
We, as a population on this planet, have been looking for a savior. 90% of people believe in a higher power.
And that's where Invincible's belief system comes together with this. The unshakable belief in humanity. But what happens when they are pitted against each other? Now, growth matters, especially in Invincible's case, and he has grown. Season 1 Mark was a rookie, a kid thrown into battles he wasn't ready for. His dad nearly beat him to death and made him watch as thousands died. He got stomped by Battle Beast and traumatized at every turn. He had raw power, but no control. Bravery? Sure, but that wasn't enough. By Season 2, we saw Mark evolve. He's smarter, he's faster, he starts thinking like a fighter, not just swinging wildly. He pushes through fear and through failure, and the beatings keep coming, but he starts giving them back. It was also the first time he let his rage take control, killing Angstrom Levy in the process. Now, Season 3 Invincible, this Mark is different. He's been through galactic wars, he's fought Viltrumite elites, held his own against Lucan, and he's made choices his father would hesitate to make. He's not just fighting anymore, he's commanding. He's learning control, precision, and restraint. His regeneration has improved. His flight, second nature. Strength, he's finally getting close to Omni-Man, and he's starting to understand his place in the Viltrumite hierarchy. He's not a pawn, he's a threat. But there's a problem. His opponents isn't just another powerful alien, it's Superman, the blueprint, the benchmark, the beginning and the end of the superhero scale. You don't just match Superman with strength. You don't just outpunch him. You outlast a legacy that spans galaxies. Because let's be honest, even at his peak, Season 3 Invincible is playing in the minor leagues. Superman's been in the major leagues since birth. Because when it comes to raw power, it's not even close. Mark Grayson can punch through concrete bunkers. He can take hits from Viltrumites strong enough to crack moons. And he is fast. He can fly through the atmosphere across continents in seconds. But Superman? He bench presses planets, literally, for 5 days straight. He had an Earth mass stimulator that he held near the sun for that long. He's flown fast enough to outrun death itself because he can go to Flash tier speeds. His heat vision? That can cut through celestial armor. His ice breath is strong enough to extinguish stars.
Not impressed.
You know how Invincible struggles against the Mauler twins? Superman can breathe and that entire mountain they're hiding in collapses. There can be no comparison between their strengths. Mark gets tired after fighting Thrag for a few minutes. Superman has gone toe-to-toe with Darkseid, Doomsday, and Shazam all at once and kept going. This isn't a difference in level, it's a difference in scale. Now, Mark's durability has grown. He survives orbital re-entry. He tanks punches that would obliterate tanks. When Conquest crushed his skull, he lived. He can regenerate slowly, but steadily. He's hard to kill. But Superman can tank hits from gods. He has survived a supernova. He has taken a blast from Darkseid's Omega beams and smiled. He has withstood black hole level gravity and has shrugged off nukes like they were mosquito bites. Mark heals from damage. Superman barely gets damaged. Their combat style is where it gets interesting. Mark fights like a Viltrumite. Head first, brutal and emotional. He has improved. He maneuvers, redirects, and uses the environment. But he's still very reactive. You hit him hard, he hits back harder. He's getting smarter, but he's not a tactician yet.
See? More than enough.
Not enough.
Superman? He's trained with Batman, Wonder Woman, and the Justice League. He's a calculated striker. He knows how to end fights quickly, not just win them. And if things get out of control, he holds back less than people realize. You might think Mark's raw savage nature gives him an edge, but Superman doesn't just fight. He does precision strikes with light speed and planet-breaking power behind every hit. Even in what they share, there is no competition. Mark has one of the hardest wills in modern superhero fiction. He fights when he knows he'll lose. He fights when he wants to give up. When Conquest nearly killed him, he got back up. When Omni-Man tore the planet apart, he chose mercy. That will is Viltrumite steel plus human compassion. But Superman has watched worlds die and kept hope alive. He's been mind-controlled, tortured, turned into a god, made mortal, and never once stopped being Superman. His restraint is not weakness, it's control. He holds back every second to keep the planet safe. If his full will is unleashed, that's when entire timelines collapse. Mark has willpower. Superman is willpower. So let's imagine it. Let's say it's Earth. No prep, just the two of them. Mark doesn't wait and he flies in. The ground shatters behind him. He's ready. Superman stands calmly. No fear and no rage, just focus. Mark strikes first and he goes at it with a full speed punch. Superman doesn't move. Then a blur. One punch from Superman. Mark flies into the sky, into orbit, through the moon. But this is Invincible. He comes back, bleeding and angry. He fights with every ounce of will he has. But Superman, he adapts. He blocks faster, hits harder. Mark grabs his cape and Superman will turn and knock the breath from his lungs. And with one final hit, he ends it. Not fatally, just definitively. Because Superman doesn't kill unless he must. And Mark isn't an enemy. He's a soldier learning his place. But what if Mark kept evolving? Let's say Mark gets stronger and faster. Let's say he even surpasses Omni-Man. Maybe one day he reaches Thrag level. He gets smarter, starts fighting tactically, and gains decades of combat experience. Could he eventually rival Superman? Maybe. Even through it all, it ends with a maybe. If he trains for centuries, gets cosmic artifacts, and evolves past Viltrumite biology, he could one day end a fight in a stalemate. Because even with everything that Invincible can do, Superman's been doing that since the 1930s. In the end, Season 3 Invincible versus Superman? No. Invincible doesn't win. Not yet, at least. Everyone thinks that Thrag vs. Superman would be an epic battle between two of the most powerful beings in their universes, but it's not even close. And I'm gonna break down every reason why this fight is over before the loser even knows what hit him, starting with their backgrounds, because where these powerhouses come from shapes everything. Let's talk about the Krypton legend first. What exactly are Superman's powers? We know the man flies around saving lives, but what exactly makes him a formidable opponent in combat?
He has the power to wipe out the entire human race, and if we believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty. But he is not our enemy. Not today.
Well, for starters, Superman obviously has the power of flight. He's able to travel from place to place within insanely short periods of time and react quickly to all threats, arriving at the scene of a crime in a matter of seconds, giving villains little time to react. Superman's powers of flight open up a whole new world of combat strategy. Think about the possibilities. The ability to fly makes Superman essentially a human fighter plane, or if needed, a stealthy reconnaissance drone. And if that wasn't enough, on top of his prowess for aerial maneuver, Superman's other powers include superhuman strength, the ability to change and modify his bodily appearance, X-ray vision, superhuman healing, and hypnosis. Think back to the way Bruce Lee would beat up people in movies back in the day. That's exactly the scene that usually unfolds when villains try to test the limits of Superman's mercy. His ridiculously high strength not only means that a single punch of his would be enough to put the average man in a coma, it also makes him a ridiculously hardy individual, with a tolerance for pain that exceeds the average man by miles.
My parents taught me to hone my senses, focus on just what I wanted to see, and it hurts, doesn't it?
I mean, try tickling him with a nuke and he probably would come out unharmed with a smile on his face. I mean, this is the guy whose blood quite literally has magical properties and is able to heal those who are fortunate enough to somehow obtain even a small dosage of it. This is the guy that can literally see through walls with his bare eyes, leaving enemies with nowhere to hide. Let's just put it this way. If you think a man like Conor McGregor is scary, well, he is. But compared to Superman, he's a cockroach trying to intimidate a snow leopard. Superman would wipe the floor with the world's most decorated fighters, powers and scoff in the face of knives and guns. It's in his name, and more often than not, those who dare to go against him end up in extremely undesirable circumstances.
We had Luther on this show many times. Little did we know he was a traitor. The foolish thing about
Sounds unstoppable, right? But here's the thing about god tier power levels. When your opponent has them too, those advantages vanish. Keep that in mind. I think we all know about Superman's physical prowess, his competence at unarmed combat, but an aspect of Superman that's often overlooked is the insanity of his mental powers. While his body might be worthy of CIA experimentation, equally worthy of marvel is the damn near psychic abilities that are contained in the brain of his... I mean, we all know he can shoot laser beams from his eyes, but how many of you thought twice about his eerie ability to hypnotize others? We're not talking basic hypnosis.
What do you know about the hypnoglasses? They make his face look different in your brain when he wears them so that you don't know who he is.
Like those clips where magicians are able to put people to sleep. We're talking insane levels of hypnosis, like being able to erase the memory of an incident completely from the minds of people, or being able to make villains obey his commands and do his bidding as they lose control over their own bodies. I mean, come on, this is completely absurd. You're telling me this is the man you want to fight? He's also able to disorientate and confuse enemies by projecting his voice across extremely long distances. A villain could hear his voice beckoning as if he was right behind him, but in actuality, Superman's miles away.
Crypto, take me home.
Through this ability, villains end up confused, disorientated, and feeling as if they themselves have gone crazy. It is within this state of utter confusion that Superman is able to strike, defeating the enemy through the perfect union of the powers of his body and mind. Now, with all these insane powers, you'd think Superman has this fight locked down, but there's something about his character that completely flips the script, and it's not what you think. It's worth mentioning that although Superman in the original Siegel and Shuster stories was portrayed as a rough and weathered gangster, the Superman we all know and love today is far from who he was back in those early comic days. He's since become far more polished, far less gritty, and far more of a dreamer. I mean, just think about his role in society and the absolute love with which he plays his role. Superman has, to the extent of our knowledge, never received any personal or financial reward for his acts. He even conceals his identity as Clark Kent and expresses great worry on the occasions when someone finds out his true identity. Superman isn't saving lives for a check or for a fame that he will never receive. Superman today represents the archetype of he who gives billions without asking for a penny in return.
What's the S stand for?
It's not an S. On my world, it means hope.
Well, here it's an S. How about
Sir?
He's the human embodiment of altruism, risking his life, putting everything he has up for sacrifice for people he'll never meet again. He's a protector of the innocent, a friend to all humans, and this gray symbol of a compassion that runs selflessly, whereby his love for all others far outweighs his concern for his own safety. No doubt, if it ever came to that and it was really necessary, without even blinking an eye, Superman would give up his life to save a stranger. There's a reason why he's often being used to describe the ideal man. His beauty lies not only in his likability, but his willingness to defy our notions of cost and benefit and give it all up for nothing in return.
Without Superman, can there be a Justice League?
How many battles did we win simply because he was there?
I used to be able to goof around so much because I knew Superman had my back.
He represents, to so many, a dreamer so idealistic that instead of using his powers for personal gain, like the majority of people would have done, he chose to use them to pursue his vision of a kinder world, even when it seems like a losing battle. This is a man who, after he first took the life of a supervillain, felt so regretful that he took a strict vow to, from then on, never take the life of another, no matter how tough it got. He's the human embodiment of mercy, of seeing the good in the most evil, twisted, and corrupted of souls, and of absolute love for his species abiding on a planet that considers him alien. This world's been tough to Superman. He lost his planet, his parents, every single of his kind are not extinct. Such optimism in the face of adversity, this kindness and selfishness, that's exactly what, to generations of teenagers, Superman has represented and continues to represent.
The symbol of the House of El means hope. Embodied within that hope is the fundamental belief in the potential of every person to be a force for good.
Remember this idealism, because when we get to why Thrag might actually win, this compassion becomes his Achilles heel. But first, let's talk about the dictator himself, Thrag. I've earned my command. I deserve to lead. I'm what our people need. I don't care what is decreed. You have earned nothing. All you deserve is death. Those were the very words spoken by supervillain Thrag to his nemesis Omni-Man as Thrag attempted to put Omni-Man's life to a premature close, ending him once and for all in defense of Thrag's authoritarian dictatorship over the Viltrumite population. In my view, and this sentiment is probably shared by many fellow fans, with regards to who is the greatest supervillain of all time, Dr. Doom would take the title, with Thrag being a close second. I mean, need we even speak about Thrag and his ruthlessness? The steely iron with which he ruled over the Viltrumites, stopping at no ends to fulfill his visions, crushing and putting to death all those who dare to disobey?
In order for our people to reach their full potential, we had to remove the weak, but what emerged was unstoppable.
Thrag, in many ways, could be seen as the comic book equivalent of an authoritarian dictator, one who believed with irreprehensible conviction in their own competence and vision, one who ruled rather than lead, and cared not at whose expense his plans would succeed. Thrag, in many ways, is comparable to a Viltrumite Gaddafi, giving his subjects only two choices, loyalty or death. Thrag was and is one of the most legendary antagonists the comic book world has and probably will ever see. As the leader of the Viltrumite Empire, Thrag's rule was characterized by a military-like utility, where every notion of ethics and morality were thrown out the window in favor of his pursuits and bloodthirsty conquests. When Thrag was a youngster, he slaughtered, as a practically invincible fighter on one side of the Civil War, thousands of weaker Viltrumites, believing the weak to be unworthy of life. Thrag punished countless dissidents with death, and the victims of his brutal rule include his very own son.
You abandon your mission to subjugate Earth. Desertion! Unapproved breeding with an inferior species.
And what's worse than a dictator? A dictator who is literally the strongest Viltrumite in all of recorded history. One who is practically invincible and lives life as if it were a game he has all the cheat codes to. Thrag, just like Superman, has extraordinary powers and would turn the average man to toast in a matter of seconds in armed or unarmed combat. Thrag's powers include decelerated aging, whereby Thrag's lifespan runs ridiculously long, with his powers and physical condition deteriorating at a ridiculously low rate. In fact, as time goes on, it seems that instead of degeneration, Thrag seems to grow in strength and power, becoming more and more lethal to any opponent standing in his way. Because of this, Thrag can play the long game. After all, his decelerated aging, paired with his vindictive nature, completely eliminates any chance for an enemy to try his hand at the waiting game. To Thrag, decades of waiting would pass in the blink of an eye, within which he would have grown infinitely stronger and more experienced. As the saying goes, you can run, but you can't hide, and Thrag certainly is not a man that can be triumphed by time. In addition, Thrag, like Superman, is able to fly.
Earth's gravity is weaker, yet its atmosphere is more nourishing. You've grown stronger here than I ever could have imagined. The only way to know how strong is to keep testing your limits.
One aspect of this flight that is unique to Thrag is his ability not just to fly as means of transport, but to levitate above the air in a controlled manner. In the strange world of superheroes, many are able to soar through the air at lightning speed, but not many are able to nimbly levitate a meter or two above the ground, or hover slightly in an act aimed to disorient the enemy.
We can freely move ourselves through physical space. That's how we fly. So we don't have to pivot on our feet and push off the ground. We can literally push off anything. We can create our own leverage.
Thrag has insane control over his flight powers, whereby a transition from flight to sprint can be easily carried out in a fraction of a second. Thrag also has superhuman strength, superhuman speed, insanely sharp senses, an ability to heal himself in the unlikely event that he is wounded, and even power to not just survive, but thrive for extended periods of time in environments absent of oxygen. In short, Thrag's powers are insane, and are the reason he was able to rise to the top of the ranks, ruling with an iron fist over the Viltrumite population. So, we've got a ruthless dictator versus a Boy Scout. Already, you can see the mismatch in mindset. But does Thrag's brutality actually translate to combat advantage? Let's look at his powers and find out. And this is where most people get this matchup completely wrong. In some areas, clearly, Superman has an advantage over Thrag. I know that just seconds ago, I was talking about how ridiculously overpowered Thrag is, but no good villain is without his or her weakness. It's what makes stories interesting. And one of the major gaps in Thrag's proverbial armor is is the fact that he's a Viltrumite. This alien species, however powerful, still have biological limitations, one of them being their ears. Yeah, you heard me right. The Viltrumite biology is such that they have extremely sensitive ears. This is what allows Thrag and other Viltrumites to fly at ridiculously high speeds. Ironically though, the extreme sensitivity of their ears can also be used against them. Sound at specific frequencies can be used as an excruciating and even lethal weapon against Viltrumites. With the right technology, or a few tech-savvy friends, Superman could beat Thrag without even landing a single blow by developing a machine that could cause Thrag's eardrums to reverberate with unbearable pain. Even more advantageous to Superman is the fact that Viltrumites are even vulnerable to paralysis if exposed to sound of specific frequencies. Now, as the strongest of all Viltrumites, Thrag obviously is different from other Viltrumites, so it's worth noting that we are unsure of the extent to which these frequencies actually have an impact on him.
Remember that giant lobster you tangled with in Atlantis? Turns out we can transmit it to your earpiece, the one we implanted when you were in our hospital, the one too deep to reach.
But we know for a fact, referencing past events, that these frequencies do have a significant impact on other Viltrumites of great power and competence. So it's hard to believe that Thrag would be able to remain totally unaffected by something which would render the powers of any other Viltrumite being. Perhaps to Thrag, these frequencies would be more so hindrances, impairing him from performing at optimal capacity and hindering only some of his powers. Nevertheless, in this aspect, Superman has a clear advantage over Thrag. The same sounds that have the potential to crush the battle-hardened Viltrumites have no negative impact on Superman himself, so if it were possible for Superman to get his hands somehow on a device that produced such frequencies, Thrag and his gang of Viltrumites would have their abilities significantly impaired.
Bruce, please, I was wrong. You have to listen to me. You don't understand. There's no time. I understand.
Ironically, one of Superman's greatest chances of beating Thrag might be in a magical plant. I'm serious. Thrag, despite having reached damn near demigod status, might be able to be beaten by a well thought out combination of Superman's powers and weapons infused with a plant known as the Klaxis plant. The Klaxis plant is a plant that we know is poisonous to Viltrumites, and Thrag is no exception. The Klaxis plant just might be one of the Viltrumites' few weaknesses. It, by some unknown force of nature, is able to eat away at the powers of Viltrumites should a Viltrumite have the ill fortune of being exposed to contact with the plant. A Viltrumite like Thrag might be mighty, if Superman is somehow able to get his hands on a large quantity of the plant and infuse weapons with the plant's essence, he might be able to weaken Thrag to the point where he's able to beat Thrag in hand-to-hand combat.
Element Man has been called into service for a specific purpose. He can metamorphose into any known substance, even substances foreign to this planet.
We know from experience that the Viltrumites themselves seriously fear the Klaxis plant. I mean, they took the effort to infest the plant on which Klaxis plants grow in the hopes of exterminating this dangerous species of vegetation. And it was none other than Omni-Man himself who actually gifted extracts of the plant to the coalition of planets to be used against the Viltrumites. We know this plant works, and we already know that Superman has powers far greater than the average man, or even the average Viltrumite. Whether or not those skills on their own are sufficient to overpower Thrag is contentious, but with the help of a little resourcefulness with a little cunning wit sprinkled in, Superman just might be able to turn the tables and defeat Thrag, upsetting his undefeated record. The best part, Superman would be able to maintain his solemn vow not to take the life of another. Through the usage of such biological means, excruciating pain would be able to be induced on Thrag, but none of these two methods would, in all likelihood, have a severe enough effect on Thrag to kill him. No matter how strong or powerful Thrag may be, Superman just needs to remember one thing: he's a mortal just like anyone else, and it takes but a single candle to set the mighty fortress ablaze.
I'm as human as anyone. I love, I get scared, I screw up all the time. But that is being human, and that's my greatest strength.
Okay, so now that we've established Superman's clear advantage over Thrag, the answer to who would win a fight between the two of them is obvious, isn't it? Superman would crush Thrag, handing Thrag the first loss of his career, ending his supervillain career in humiliating fashion. Or would he? See, I've mentioned that in some aspects Superman has a clear advantage over Thrag, but get this, in other aspects, Thrag is clearly superior to Superman, likewise giving Thrag an advantage over Superman. So let's not make our verdict so quickly and give our favorite supervillain Thrag a chance to plead his case. You never know, he just might have a fighting chance against Superman and pull off the greatest comeback in history. Remember earlier in the video when I mentioned that Superman is an idealist? I said that Superman was compassionate, kind, and benevolent. He represents hope, courage, and most importantly, a selfless desire to protect the lives of all in pursuit of a better, safer world. Remember that? that? Well, what if I told you that this isn't a strength? See, when facing a supervillain of Thrag status, Superman's idealism actually makes him susceptible to getting carried with unrealistic ideals, ignoring what is and isn't pragmatic. Superman may have dreams of a better world, but does he truly have the means to execute his vision? And is he willing to compromise his ideals for what realistically will give him an edge over Thrag?
Did it hurt you?
You know, they can't. I wanted to hit that kid. I wanted to hit him so bad.
I know you did, and you just have to decide what kind of man you want to grow up to be, Clark.
I don't think so. Superman, in classic Superman fashion, gets in the way of his full potential as a superhero because of his unrealistic ideals. I mean, the man has literally vowed not to take the life of another. How on earth is he going to deal with Thrag then? It's unlikely that Superman would be able to ever land a final defeat over Thrag without killing him. Sure, he might win him in a fight, but Thrag could just get up and try again another day. And unlike Superman, Thrag would finish the job by whatever means necessary, ending our favorite superhero without a moment's hesitation. This unwillingness to kill Thrag really is a major weakness for Superman. Thrag essentially is able to continuously make attempts to kill Superman. If he succeeds in doing so even once, well, Superman can bid this beautiful world sayonara. Superman's also a sentimental dude. He loves his friends and family a little too much, making him vulnerable to being manipulated by Thrag emotionally. I mean, when Thrag starts making threats against Superman's family and friends, Superman is bound to have his judgment clouded. His tremendous affection for family and friends truly makes him susceptible to manipulation.
Where has he hit me? Where is the codex? You think you can threaten my mother?
Apart from that, there's another thing that's a total game changer and just might give Thrag the victory he's looking for. It's his dictator-like ruthlessness, his authoritarian efficiency, his lack of any ethical considerations. The man kills without even thinking twice and previously crushed all dissidents among the Viltrumites, ensuring the entire population remained completely loyal to him. A man as heartless as Thrag would blow up cities and burn villages just to get what he wants. Against Superman, Thrag doesn't have the liability of ethical concerns. He'll pounce without thinking twice and bask in the glory of his cruelty. Not to mention that Thrag literally commands the entire Viltrumite population, acting as their supreme leader. With a single word from Thrag's mouth, Superman would find entire armies of Viltrumites charging at him. Each soldier in that army would like nothing more than to die for his beloved leader of the Empire. All dissidents among them would have been executed by Thrag, and the Viltrumites who remain are hence fiercely loyal to Thrag.
Our most trusted officers were each given a planet to weaken by themselves. I was one of those lucky few.
If Superman wants to capture the leader, he'll have to fight off an army, and let me tell you, the Viltrumites are not ones to play around when it comes to warfare. The last thing that gives Thrag a fighting chance against Superman is this. While Superman in all likelihood has far more powers than Thrag, how many of those powers would actually work on a villain of Thrag's caliber is actually dubious. Powers like X-ray vision, the ability to talk over long distances, psychic abilities, or enhanced leaping, all great against weaker villains, but would a war-hardened veteran really be all that affected by such superpowers? I mean, Thrag isn't some small-town superhero. This is literally the strongest Viltrumite in all of recorded history. Against men, no doubt these powers would come in handy, but I doubt they would do much harm to Thrag. Even Superman's strongest powers like superhuman strength, superhuman speed, and the ability to fly are powers shared by Thrag himself, meaning that Superman's possession of these powers may not give him the advantage he's used to against lower-level villains. Thrag can fly just like Superman can, and both Thrag and Superman can punch through walls as if they're Kit Kat bars. Without this advantage, perhaps Thrag does stand a chance at holding his own against Superman. When all is said and all is done, does anyone want to guess who would win? Both have an advantage, but the title of this video was clear that this would not be a close fight, and there would be a clear winner. Among the two, who would it be? Before I reveal the answer, go ahead and type your guess out in the comment section and why you think he would win over the other. After much research and honestly days of thought, I've come to this final conclusion. Thrag would win Superman by a landslide, and it isn't even close. If you enjoyed this video and want to see why Battle Beast vs Superman isn't close, click now.